Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate, there are a lot of sessions. Appreciate for joining today. Today, we are going to talk about how to securely run Databricks on AWS for public sector and highly regulated industries. Right? Public sector and highly regulated industries require stringent regulatory requirements and security. So, we will be covering about our AWS GovCloud and how Databricks fits in within that, and some of the compliances you need, you can set up, and how can you onboard Databricks on AWS. With that, my name is Venkat Viswanathan. I'm a global partner solutions architect managing Databricks. Along with me, Paul Patel. She's a public sector partner solutions architect. She's going to deep dive on the public sector regulatory requirements and FedRAMP High and some of those things. So, as I mentioned, the stringent data regulations and industry standard is important for the public sector. In order to qualify or run some of the operations, business operations using the cloud, Databricks and AWS services, you need like FedRAMP certification or NIST certifications and PCI DSS, HIPAA regulatory compliance, and so on. And mainly for public sector, we're looking at, if you want to qualify for FedRAMP High, you need to meet 421 security controls. And AWS is FedRAMP High certified, and which means we meet all the 421 security controls. Furthermore, the reason why they put this control is, if you do not have this control, and like strong encryption or strong access controls, even the perimeter protection, like auditing capability, if all those things are not available, there is the possibility of, today's world, there is like a ransomware attack or malware attack or data leakage and so on happens, which can damage the reputation of your organization and of the people, right? So that's the reason why we have this FedRAMP High, requires 421 security controls. With that, we can confidently say that AWS is one of the most secured cloud provider. Now, I would like to, like Paul Patel, she's a public sector specialist, so she's going to talk about how GovCloud, on AWS GovCloud, how it meets and what are the things that it covers. Paul?
Thank you. Thanks, Venkat. I hope everyone can hear me as well. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, as Venkat said, that we do cover a lot of authorizations and compliance programs with our AWS GovCloud region. So, what is GovCloud? Let me summarize in a single line if I have to say. It's an isolated region, isolated infrastructure for infrastructure as a service, and we provide all the AWS services with it. And it is for the customers with strict compliance and regulation requirements. And, it is built with the same high security standards that our other AWS regions are built with, but it also specifically addresses US federal government requirements, the stringent data requirements and controls for all the authorizations that we support. And this is to protect the controlled unclassed information, COI data, the personally identifiable data, export control data, and much more such sensitive information. And just to speak about some of the notable authorizations that we support are FedRAMP High, or DoD, CCSRG, IL4 and IL5, the NIST 853 as well as 171, the DFARS, HIPAA, CMMC level 1 and 2 with level 3 in session, currently in progress. So, as you see, we have a comprehensive list of compliances that caters to a lot of public sector and highly regulated customers. And the origin of our GovCloud region, it dates back almost a decade ago in 2011, when we had our first region opened up. And it was specifically conceived because the US public customers, specifically the US public sector customers, became interested in how they can have their workloads migrated to cloud and how they can architect their cloud compliance at scale and innovate at scale. So just to give you a brief introduction about the two regions, there are two GovCloud regions, US West 1 and US East 1. And these regions are there for meeting your high resiliency demands, any of the latency sensitivity or disaster recovery needs. Also, the regions, if you notice, they are bi-coastal. So they are separated by the Rocky Mountains and the Greater Plains. So we also thought about the impact of the terrestrial events, which is kind of pretty huge point. Talking about some of the distinguishing features that we have for AWS GovCloud regions, it's a community cloud and you have vetted access to these accounts, and it's managed by US citizens on US soil, and we support FIPS 140-2 cryptographic modules or the endpoints for the services that we support on these regions, and we give you the DoD cloud access point connectivity. The data, network and machine is isolated from other regions as well as for the two regions. So you have entire separate stack for identity and access management that we provide for our commercial regions. So you have also dedicated AWS management console with a separate and dedicated password credentials that you set up to log into these accounts. Just to give you a brief of how many services we have available, sometimes we may lag behind in some of the services that are available on commercial cloud. We are pretty consistent in getting there. Beginning with first two columns showing you the services that we have on our two different regions, and you can see we have 100 plus FedRAMP High authorizations as well as 100 plus DoD SRG IL5 authorizations with just under 100 for IL4 and IL5 both. And we are one of the clouds with most amount of FedRAMP High and DoD SRG certifications on among other CSPs. To give you the brief on, we do cater to, it's not just public sector when we talk about GovCloud. It caters to other ranges of customers as well. So you can see government agencies at federal, state and local level, as well as profit, non-profit orgs, research organizations, educational, SLG, telecom, system integrators, etc. So it's a wide range that it caters to. With those foundations in place, I wanted to say that Databricks can now be deployed on AWS GovCloud, and it is currently in progress to achieve its agency authority to operate for FedRAMP High, and concurrently pursuing for DoD Impact Level 5 as well. And the main point is both of these authorizations or certifications, they are inheriting the AWS's base compliance, the comprehensive security and compliance controls. So it's Venkat mentioned, for any such authorizations, you have to meet like huge number of controls. They are pretty strict. We have to follow it to the word. So AWS does helps with that initial base foundation on which the partners can build their solution. And it's not just those controls that you inherit. We also give you programs and we gives you tools and resources to help you accelerate your journey to get the compliances for yourself as well once you start using the regions or deploying the region. To give you an idea on some of the features that are available for Databricks on AWS GovCloud, the overall platform is currently in public preview. So it is available for everyone to use, but not GA yet. And notable features, as you can see, are Unity Catalog, Databricks SQL, dashboards, MLflow experiments with all the latest runtimes that you will have available on commercial, also have available here. These are some of the features that are not going to be available in first iteration of authorization, but please note that we are making continuous improvements, and so It is work in progress, so they will be there soon. With that, I wanted to talk about some of the security features that are necessary and that kind of helps you with the cloud deployment of Databricks. So the first one I wanted to start with is customer managed VPC. So you would have seen in commercial, if you deploy the Databricks, it can be deployed in Databricks, created and configured AWS VPC, the cluster. But on GovCloud, you would deploy it in your managed VPC on your AWS account, and it gives you several benefits to that end. For instance, it gives you increased control. So you have more control over the network configuration of this VPC, allowing you to comply with specific requirements that your compliance or security team or CISO team is expecting. It gives you lower privilege level, so Databricks across account IAM role won't need to have that much access to your AWS account or your resources. Simplified network connectivity. Since it is your VPC, you can plug it to your centralized networking, however you have set it up for your AWS centralized base networking within your control tower setup. You limit the outgoing connection to only the sources or data sources that you know of. You put in firewalls, proxy in front of that. So you're also limiting the Databricks workload running on your account to just have and communicate with the known sources. Next one we have is private link. Customer managed VPC is kind of a requirement to set up the private link. It is powered by AWS private link features. And if you don't know about AWS private link, it gives you the private connectivity between your VPC and AWS resources or your on-prem and AWS services. So you don't have to go over the internet and the data stays within the AWS network. So with that, Databricks built upon that to give you the private link. It's two types of connections: front end, through which you can have secure access to Databricks front end, the interface that you interact with, the REST APIs that you may use with the Databricks, or even the users on your on-prem network can securely connect to your Databricks front end through this. You just need to hook into a transit VPC that you might have in your already established AWS centralized networking model. The second is secure connectivity to web application backend. So the actual compute resources of Databricks that speaks to the control plane on, compute resources on your account for Databricks running your Databricks runtime or workload or cluster. Those need to talk to Databricks control services as well. And we provide a secure connectivity for that connection. So even that data is not leaving your AWS network, stays within it, and you are secured from all fronts. Next is data encryption. This is a very basic requirement. And one of the main AWS services that powers this is AWS Key Management Service, KMS. You might have already heard of it. So Databricks, of course, leverages that to provide you data at rest and in-transit encryption. And you can actually create a customer managed key. So you have control over the lifecycle of the key that you're using to encrypt your data. You can create two types of keys. One key is to secure your all the management related things. For instance, your notebooks or Databricks SQL queries, outputs, the Git integration or personal access token and such. The other you can use to actually secure your data or encrypt your data at rest, which is stored in your S3 bucket or EBS volume, whichever storage you're using. The second portion of it is an in-transit data encryption. So the cluster nodes within the same cluster, the communication between them is also encrypted. It is encrypted using an init script that you just plug in during when you are first standing up your cluster. And that gives you the SSL or TLS connection. Next is enhanced security and compliance module. This is like an add-on that Databricks has, and it is mandatory for your GovCloud deployment. It comprises of two portions. First is enhanced security monitoring, and that gives you these added features of hardened image. So you have CIS level benchmarked image. It gives you FIPS 140-2 level 1 validated encryption, the antivirus monitoring agent or file integrity to check none of your files are changed, or if they are changed, when and by whom. The regular vulnerability scanning. The second portion of it is compliance security profile. ESM is actually subset of CSP. So this is part of just one module that you enable for your GovCloud deployment. It is required to give you the running the regulated workloads like FedRAMP High or DoD IL5. It enforces ESM. It also enforces the use of AWS Nitro instances. It's an instance type that uses that extra Nitro chip and offloads the compute and the storage from your actual hardware to give you added security. The last part is authentication and access control. Single sign-on, again, it's a mandatory that you have to set up single sign-on. It can be through any of your identity provider. If you're on AWS, you can use our identity service. You can provision or users and groups. You can also sync it with your current SCIM. We give you secure API authentication, so you can have personal access token, and you get granular access control systems as well for both workspace level as well as the account level. So just to give you the overview of the features or security features that we saw. Next up, it's data governance features that are sort of differentiated features available for Databricks on GovCloud, and Venkat is going to speak about that.
Thank you so much. So, data governance. Databricks on data governance. Well, on AWS, we have something called Unity Catalog. Already Paul did mention, like, it is in public preview. The Unity Catalog is only available on Databricks on AWS platform. It is not available on other cloud like Azure Public Cloud or GCP. So what it means is, now using Databricks on AWS, you get to use the completely lineage, access control, and Unity Catalog also comes with data lineage, data sharing, which is you can share data between two different like multiple workspaces or between data or third party. Also you can do it, and also enables you to do search and discovery on the. So whatever Unity Catalog features that you see, that is the complete feature is available on the cloud also, on the public cloud. And Delta Live Table is a declarative way of doing things. Like, instead of focusing on how to orchestrate your workflow, what you're focusing is on how do I do transformation. And in a single notebook, you can do all the transformation, and the Delta Live Table is going to find out what is the dependency, and it's going to orchestrate your workflow, and you can also schedule it. It's going to manage your cluster, automatic cluster management, and you can put data quality enforcement. You can see that in Delta Live Table from the ingestion, for every flow, you can see how the data quality has taken place, and the other metrics is available. So it is basically freeing you from thinking about, okay, like now I'm adding this table, whereas like how do I need to change the workflow. There are those things you don't need to do that. It's going to take care of by itself. And with Unity Catalog, you can do secured data sharing. And when you say data sharing, it is not just the data sharing. You can share the data, associated notebook, models, and any assets that is managed within Unity Catalog, you can share with other agencies within PubSec. So these features are not available in, or it is available only on AWS. Now, if you want to open an account in AWS GovCloud, you just sign into standard management console, and you sign up But before you do that, you also need to have a standard account. So the standard account is where all the billing information will be available. So you need to have two accounts. Once you have these two accounts set up, then to set up Databricks, you will reach Databricks directly. There is no marketplace offering it for GovCloud. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul.